no wonder it's episode 13.
You know, I was getting to that.
I was going to say that to Scott earlier. I was going, you realize this is episode 13. This might be the issue.
And today is the 13th of August.
That's right.
You know, what a confluence of events that we have. Well, for what that is worth, let me say, at least I think that we are now live streaming on YouTube. What I did is I just, for those who were waiting over there on Facebook, hopefully you haven't gotten too discouraged, and I just posted, copied and shared that link. If you'll do the same thing, you could do that then as well, so that way they know where to go.
Done.
Sorry about that, but obviously that we're having some technical difficulties here since it is the 13th of August and this is the 13th episode. And I don't have 13 people, but I've got, you know, the perfect number of people who are here with me tonight. And I want to welcome you guys, the listener, the viewer, to another episode of the Magic and Martinis virtual happy hour here this Thursday night. And I want to welcome, first of all, yep, I see over there that we got Phil Ackerley out in, Phil, where are you right now in California?
I'm in Santa Clara, just 40 minutes south of San Francisco.
There you go. And we're going to be talking with him a lot about some virtual shows and things like that. Next to him over there, then, of course, then we've got my buddy, then Shawn McMaster. Hey there, Shawn.
Hey, Scott. Thank you for having me here.
I'm so glad that you were here as well. And you're in the Los Angeles area then right now, right?
I am above Los Angeles, yes. I am right now currently, well, I'm between Hollywood and Santa Barbara. So.
Oh, I thought you meant you were living in a penthouse, so you're above Los Angeles and kind of are hovering in a helicopter like you're performing.
North of Los Angeles, yeah.
And then from the other coast, from the right coast, we got then my good buddy who is another one of the great magicians and someone who is a producer from Monday Night Magic in Chicago. Please welcome Peter Samelson. Hey there, Peter.
Hi, nice to see you all. So I'm just in New Jersey, just outside of our home in New York City, spending my time between Woodstock, New York and Bloomfield, New Jersey right now. So big shout out for the East Coast.
And so you are just kind of keeping obviously at home rather than going back. And how far are you from New York City when you get into the city to work?
I'm about 15 miles. So
okay. Well,
it depends. And so in terms of time, it depends on when you're driving it. It can either be 25 minutes or it can be 2 hours, depending on the day and the time.
Yeah. Well,
Sounds like Los Angeles.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's like Houston or Austin or, yeah, a lot of big cities then as well. So I see you're drinking then also. What are you drinking there, Peter? What have you got in hand?
I'm actually, tonight, this is a Negroni. So I was going to go for a Ricky, but I decided to go for the Negroni just because it's a fallback and it's a delight. And I just got some new glasses that just arrived. And so I'm very happy by that.
Now, are you using ice or are those frozen plastic ice things you put in there so that way it doesn't dilute it? Or,
you know, that would be the smart thing to do, but I'm actually using ice.
Real ice, okay.
Yeah. Real ice.
And Phil, I know you got something over there that you've got in your glass. What is that?
This is, it's a little bit of everything. I got an orange, a grape, a lime. I've got, what is it?
Kind of fruity.
Crown Royal, a little Crown Royal. Ice is melting nicely, and it's only what 5 o'clock here in the West Coast, so I got to stay awake for the rest. of the
Phil just cleared out the crisper and juiced everything that was there.
And then it adds Crown Royal to it, and you got the perfect drink.
Right, and then there you go. Exactly.
Just don't ask Shawn a question because he's going to put a cracker in his mouth.
Cracker in my mouth. Yeah, exactly.
Shawn, what do you got to drink over there?
I am drinking my standby bourbon, the Maker's Mark, and it is a big old ice ball that's in there. A lot of people look at it and they go, "Yeah, look, it's a pickled egg," but it's an ice ball. So yeah,
that's one of those things that you can kind of have those two. I've got one of those Makers also, a little rubber thing. You put the water in, and then
and then you put it in the freezer. Yeah, exactly. No,
right.
Yeah.
And also, nice thing about that is it melts slower than what cubes will or crushed ice.
Right. It won't dilute it as fast. Yeah.
So we were talking earlier, just before we began, about the right amount of water to put into Scotch or bourbon. Was that you, Phil, was talking about that?
Well, that was Shawn. Shawn,
okay, yeah. So tell me what your thoughts were.
Well, I don't know the right amount, but what I was relaying to you before we came on was I was in Colorado not long ago, and went to the Stranahan's. It's a Colorado whiskey distillery. Went to Stranahan's and had a little flight of their 3 whiskeys, and they served it with a little drum of water, just water and an eyedropper. And so you could sip, the flights, but then you could at any time drop as many drops of water you want into these whiskeys, which typically opens them up and makes a completely different flavor and different bouquet and the whole thing. And it was great. It was a nice visit, and I recommend it. If you're in Denver, go to Stranahan's. If you like whiskey, that's the place to go.
Well, I wanted to save this for a little bit later. I mean, when we started talking about this, I wanted to tell you that I agree as far as, water. I had learned that whenever I went on the Scotch tour or distillery tour up in Scotland many years ago. And they were saying, so what we do with ice? We throw it away. You just drink that straight. And then maybe you might let your fingers drip into the glass to let just a drop or two. And it's interesting about how when you're drinking Scotch, first of all, it is different. And when you go on a distillery tour and you go to all those different places and you learn about how that, all the malt and everything, it makes that so delicious. But then how that just a drop of water will open it up and give it the heat.
Yeah.
You don't want to have too much to it.
Sometimes amazingly so. Sometimes it just changes the entire construction of it, I guess. And it's just the flavor smooths over. Not that I prefer the smooth bourbons over some of the little harsh ones, but it just changes it completely. And it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Phil.
Well, one of my favorite single malts is Bowmore. A Bowmore 12 is sort of my standard go-to drink. It's sort of middle range in terms of price, and there's also a Lagavulin, and I believe it was an 11 that I've actually found once that was really nice. But I just posted up on the Facebook page today that apparently Bowmore has gone. They're producing a cask that they're releasing 25 bottles of this with Aston Martin. And the combined bottle with its specific decanter and shape and thing is $65,000. There are only 25 bottles being released.
Wait, the decanter's going to look like an Aston Martin?
No, it actually doesn't. But it looks like the cylinder. It looks like the cylinder from an Aston Martin. So, and I posted it up there in case anybody was wanted to get a head start on a holiday present.
On your holiday gift giving.
Are you dropping hints, Peter?
I am. Actually,
heavily.
I really am. Yes,
heavily.
Wow.
I'm having a cinder block.
These are the things you learn on the Magic Word podcast.
That's right. You never know.
Wow. I was expecting to find out about martinis, but I'm learning.
Yeah, well, that's we need to find out what Scott's drinking.
That's what that's what I'm having is just a Three Olives. Actually, it's a Three Olives brand of martini, and I'm not their spokesman, but I do endorse it. In fact,
you should be.
They gave me a free T-shirt. I was one of those influencers, I guess, on Instagram. So they gave me a T-shirt. But nevertheless, that I do use it with Three Olives, and also that with stuff with blue cheese. But the flavors of Three Olives are really good. This particular one is cherry, and I like the flavored vodka because you don't have to add anything to it as far as the flavoring. And the flavoring is better, in my opinion, for Three Olives than it is for other kinds of brands, because in other brands, that whenever that you shake it up or when you drink it, it's a little bit syrupy, a little bit too sweet. Likewise, that if you put this into any flavored vodka into the freezer, as you normally would just regular vodka, whether it's a Belvedere, Kettle One, or whatever, that it will be kind of syrupy. So I don't recommend putting in a flavored vodka in the freezer. So anyhow, cheers, all of you guys. Thank you, guys. I'll
cheers.
Go hold your glass up over there. So glad that you joined me over here this evening.
By the way, Scott, my dad was a martini drinker, so I always think of my dad when think about your martinis and magic. So, and he was so specific. He had to have the olive and a lemon twist. And when he go out to a bar and get a drink, they have to run the lemon around the rim, twist it, drop it in. Boom. That was his response. So he was a martini drinker.
Well, one of the things that I add to it is this. I've got a little spritzer, and so after that, I have shaken it up and poured a little bit in there. And top it off. I'm going to top it off because I've been drinking a little bit here already because it's so frustrating trying to get this darn thing going here this evening. So this has the right amount of vermouth for me. So this way I just go twice like that. So that gives just kind of a little bit of across the top of that thin film of ice that you have over there then as well. And, you talk about you and your dad, what do you say? Same thing, like, when my wife had passed a couple of years ago, that one of my favorite sounds was, that's what she would always do for the first glass. So listen, hey, I'm glad you're here. And also we got a few people who have already started to sign on. Nick Lewin's here and said, hey guys.
Hey Nick.
Hey Nick.
Hello, Nick Lewin.
And Rick DeNatale. Hi. Cyberusu. Hi guys. Great to see Peter, Shawn, and Phil. Not me, I guess.
Hey.
But anyhow, hopefully
it's always good to see you, Scott. Come on.
Hopefully there'll be some other guys and gals who'll be tuning in after they kind of realize, hey, it's not working over there on Facebook, but it is on YouTube that we're doing here tonight. So anyhow, we got just a lot of things to talk about, and I really want to discuss. And I was going to say that, Shawn, I had you some years ago on a lecture tour, and you had an opportunity to kind of go across the country and do everything. Lectures are a lot different now. Have you been doing any kind of virtual lectures?
Okay, well, the lecture tour you had me on pretty much is non-existent anymore because it was on Restaurant Magic. So that product is gone. I don't have that to offer any longer.
Good point.
And the lecture notes that go along with it, can't sell those. So no, I have not been doing any lectures online. I have been doing some performances online, but lectures, no, not been doing that.
I didn't know whether that you were kind of restructuring or kind of pivoting, basically. Say, okay, well, I can't do Restaurant Magic, and so
much like all of us, I think we're restructuring. But I'm trying to. I've gotten acclimated to some of the Zoom shows now with some of the ones I've done, to the point where I'm announcing my Zoom shows now online and contacting all of my client base and all of that, and selling those now. But yeah, out of just necessity as far as the restructuring is concerned.
Yeah. And as far as your shows go, are those ticketed, or do you have this? Did you start out live?
Not yet.
For free, or?
Not yet, but I intend on possibly doing some shows that will be ticketed. Mostly these were clients. I mean, these were private shows, corporate things, and some private performances for families that I've done. But yeah, I'm looking into the whole ticketed shows and am now beginning to offer the shows to the majority of my client base now.
So basically, it sounds like you're dipping your toe into it to kind of see how this works and what works and doesn't work as far as the virtual magic that you could do over Zoom like this.
Yes, I did a lot of research as far as watching people who I respect in the shows that they were putting together, just kind of seeing how it all plays, and how the interaction is with the audience. And it's all clunky. I mean, even the best ones are still a bit clunky, So I kind of chalked myself up to that. Okay, people are going to kind of give us that bit of that little bit of leeway, knowing that we're all in this here together and we're doing the best we can. And we as performers will give them the best possible show that we possibly can. But there may be some technical glitches along the way. I mean, for example, I did a corporate thing just a couple of weeks ago for a tech company, and it was a conference. Basically, what it was, I think, was the conference was set up before the sky fell in March, and when it did, they said, okay, they needed to scramble and I think put this whole thing online as a virtual conference. So the people that were already signed up were then transferred over to the online thing. And what I was scheduled to do would have normally been, in normal times, would have been, they spent their entire day in conferences, and now it's happy hour and they're relaxing at the end of the day, and I would have been strolling around doing close-up magic. But now, instead, they were in their living room all day in conferences, and then they did a virtual happy hour at the end where they were just relaxing and just kind of, shooting the breeze. And I was, yes, exactly, doing this. And I was the close-up guy, on Zoom. So I did close-up magic for them, and it was, for the most part, it was fine. There was a moment. Well, I guess I can say I'm the only performer whose performance has ever been interrupted by a man walking past his koi pond with a cigar and a glass of scotch.
Okay.
Because that's what happened. I was in the middle of a routine, and suddenly the speaker view came up on top of the screen, and it was this guy who was an attendee walking past this koi pond, and you could hear him walking. And suddenly I was moved down, you know, and I was like one of the thumbnail people down here, but I'm performing, and the guy up here is walking past this koi pond, you know. So I don't know. It was odd. The guy should have been muted, and the guy running the show didn't mute him properly, and so. Yeah. So
well, the cool thing
those
is
things happen.
You've identified, of course, a good sector, and that is that there are people who and companies that are still needing entertainment. I mean, they're having conferences, they're having things going on throughout the day then anyhow, and they're going to be needing to have professional entertainers to kind of relieve the mood, just like as if, and they want people to feel as if that they're really there anyhow, you know, as opposed to, you know, like we normally have every year kind of a thing, you know. And so by doing that, what the problem I see with that, it's a wonderful thing and a lovely thing, and I've done that. I know what you're talking about too. But in my case, that I was thinking, well, I can't continue to do this. You just do like a few minutes, or rather you do a half hour, and you kind of, you know, you don't want to do more than a half hour, because when you're doing a restaurant, working a cocktail party, you're working for 2, 3, 4 hours. Here, you know, the same tricks over and over, the same series. Here, everybody sees at the same time. When you're done, you know, you wad shot. Yeah, and that's what it was. It was basically it was supposed to be like a 30-minute show, and you know, everybody's watching all at once. And so it was supposed to be about a 30-minute show, but because of the interaction and some of the technical glitches and stuff, you know, like, because you're really a kind of held to each individual person's Wi-Fi connection. So if you ask them a question and their Wi-Fi is spotty, then they don't hear the question, they don't respond, and everybody's waiting for them to respond. And so, you know, you've got some of that. So the show ran a little bit longer, but that was just because of some of the technical things. Well, yeah, I think you're going to be having that, particularly kind of in the early stages where people are, there's so many people who are in, you know, and obviously what you need to learn early on is to mute everybody else's mic, so that way that they won't get spotlighted. Because see, I wasn't in control. It was the admin guy that was supposed to have done that. And then boom, here this guy was, you know, and it was just kind of fun. I know, Phil, that you've been doing this, and I'm going to talk to you about that in length in a moment, but I wanted to ask Peter whether or not that you've been doing much of that then as well, either for corporate or whether the Monday Night Magic actually, I mean, I know, for example, Chicago Magic Lounge's been doing a lot of virtual shows, but I wondered if Monday Night Magic has.
So part of the interesting thing about all of this is that I work almost exclusively in venues. So I don't work for a lot of private parties or corporate events. I tend to work a lot of venues. So things like the Castle, or things like House of Cards, or Marvin's out there. And these, you know, I had all this stuff lined up. And one of the places that I was scheduled to work was at Liberty Magic in Pittsburgh. I don't know if you know about this, but this is a beautiful venue. It seats 66 people, and it's great. You know, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So, you know, here, this is one of the things that's there. So what they ended up doing was they ended up finding ways to do some stuff. So here was something they did with the Dollar Bank, and so there's a digital main stage, and this was Derek Hughes and a bunch of other folks. There was music and there was magic that happened there. Okay, and so that was there. Liberty Magic shifted from doing the Magic Live. I was scheduled to be there for all of June and the first week of July, and then following me was Rob Zabrecki, and before me were the Eversons. So there were a lot of other people. So they went into this Liberty Magic at home sequence. And so this is a little piece. I mean, I don't know if this, can you hear this? I don't know if you can hear this or not. Yes? No?
No. Whenever the audio, whenever you did a share screen, you needed to think. Yeah, thing on the bottom that would say to enable video or audio.
Yeah, that's just it's a different thing. This is through Ecamm, and it should be doing it, but it's not. No. But in any case, this was Masato, who was working on the show with me. And the nice thing, he's using StreamYard, or that's what they're using for this, so they could have the attendees sitting next to them on there. So you have this virtual experience where you have audience members as well. So you're not faced with a problem with Zoom, where you have somebody who begins to talk, and then they, like with Shawn's situation, they take it all over, you know. And this is one of those things where he's doing the Masato rings, and it's just amazing to me. It's not something I was a big fan of beforehand, but seeing it being done on Zoom, all of a sudden, to me, it was like, wow, that is just so powerful, because you feel like you're inches away from it. So this is, to me, I was
Yeah.
really blown away by this, you know, so that was that. But there are a lot of other people. Nathan Colmarsh has been doing this, you know, it's been going up there. Alan New has been doing some stuff. There's a bunch of stuff, you know, here you've got the Magic Castle is doing things that they were doing some stuff, right? And there's Capehart, you know, that's there. So, you know, this is exactly. So, you know, this is a situation. And then of course there's Helder at the Geffen.
Tell me about that, by the way. I heard that, you know, in the Wall Street Journal, not Wall Street Journal, but in the New York Times, that he was like really hot. They were saying this guy. So tell me about his show.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
And I've deliberately decided not to see it. I had friends who have seen it. And my friend Dennis Kyriakos, for example, was one of the people I began talking to about this. And I said, don't tell me about it. Don't tell me about it. What I love about it, the fact is that he has taken this, and it's a limited number of seats that are there. They sell them for $95 a seat or a view. Right. So you can have, you know, family members viewing it. And now you've got a box that gets shipped out to you, and the box arrives. Mm-hmm. And one of the problems that you have, and I'm sure that Phil can talk about this, is that, you know, you do your best presentationally to talk to people about this sort of stuff, right? But, you know, I mean, here you've got a major playhouse talking about this sort of stuff that goes on here. And so one of the problems is you're performing and you have no idea what people are actually looking at. There's a screen, you know, they've got a screen, but then what's on their desk? Is there a phone on their desk? Is their cat sitting there? I mean, what else is going on around? There's nothing that you can be assured of that's going to keep them from being distracted from your performance, that's going to interfere with the impact that you want to have. So I think what Helder has done here, which is just brilliant, which is by providing them with a box that they don't open until the show starts. Now, all of a sudden, you have these objects that you're going to be working with, and so you know that everybody's looking at the same thing, and they're focused on things that you have given them. It's brilliant, absolutely.
You know,
brilliant.
Along that line, that tomorrow night that I'm going to be attending a show with Stuart McDonald, and Stuart has a thing also in which that. Although they're not shipping out the boxes, what he's just saying is to have with you, first of all, have a drink. They encourage you to have a drink, so, you know, have a drink for it, and, you know, have like 6 or 7 cards, you know, whatever it was. In other words, they're telling you things to bring in, and have like a ball or something, so that you have these things with you, as opposed to sending something out in advance, so that they could still sell the same day, sell the ticket for somebody to attend, and they're telling you, you've already got these things around the house, go get a deck of cards or whatever it is, which I think is kind of a brilliant idea then too.
And part of the reason that I had this slideshow put together, just real quickly, is that I was doing a presentation today to the producing organization, the Phoenicia Playhouse. I worked with them last year to produce the Phoenicia Festival of Magic, which included myself. I headlined Alex Boyce, Carissa Hendricks was there as Lucy Darling, Leland Faulkner was there, and Harrison Greenbaum was there, and then Chris Capehart handled all the kids stuff that was there, and it was a fabulous event. This year we were scheduled to do it again, and it, of course, was blown out. So I was pitching to them this idea of moving it virtual to actually do an event, and part of the discussion is, how do you charge for this? And Phil, you know, you've had experience on this. You actually are doing shows. Some of them are listed through Gold Star and other places like that, where you're actually selling tickets. What's your experience been like with that?
Well, it's been a great experience. First of all, I just did a few Gold Star just to see what kind of response and keep getting the word out. But most of it's been on Eventbrite. So I've been advertising through my newsletter and on Facebook, really. That's about it. And plus a couple of online newspapers I've been promoting it, you know, and it gets a little bit of attention, but it's great. It's you know, so I've been doing dinner theater shows for, I don't know, 5-6 years, and I had 2 scheduled this year. And so I basically just took my dinner theater show and brought it online. My wife contacted me. My wife told me back in April, she said, why don't you do a show for your cousins, your nieces and nephews, which are all over the country? And I thought, what a great idea, because they don't get a chance to see me perform. What a great idea. So I did a show for them, and that's where I got some of the kinks worked out. And I said, oh, this is kind of fun. So then I had a couple of clients that had already been booked, so I did their shows online. And then my gym asked me to do a show, which was the first week of May. And I worked out some of the kinks there. And my coach was great. His encouragement was basically embrace this, just embrace this thing we're in, and just work with it. And so, you know what, I wasn't going to stop. And of course, I got to pay the rent. I got to pay the mortgage. So I have to make it work. So, I didn't charge a lot, because a lot of my shows are in the evening, 7 o'clock. So people are kind of relaxed. They're like here sitting back. They're not really like up here at their desk watching. And I have I have a pretty good fan base, mostly local. So I charge $15, and I've upped it a little bit. So, now
to begin with, you were also doing this. You had a studio. Tell me about how you set up the studio.
Well, studio was the garage, which of course the studio sounds really good, but I had my curtain set up, I had the lights set up. I was just using my iPad as a camera.
But you had a place to go to, which is really cool, as opposed to, having to set it up every time, like I know some guys who have had theaters, even when we were back doing this regularly, there was a place down in Florida. I've talked with a fellow who had a theater, and they had to bring in the curtains and everything and set it up every time, and probably like Steve Cohen also, he goes in each time and has to reset the room. In your case, it's already ready, the lights and the camera and everything. I think Carissa Hendricks has got something similar to that. And it's cool if you've got a place to go to and you just flip the switch and you go live.
It's great. And of course, that was my workshop. So my workshop wasn't working because I was using it for a studio. But now, as I tell people, I moved into a brand new studio, which is the living room. I might as well. I sleep with the owner. So now I'm in the living room. And so that part of the living room is taken. So all I have to do is push my table over there with the camera, turn on the lights, position them, and I'm all ready to go. And it's great. The parking's, I don't have to worry about loading. Parking's great. And
right. You don't have to worry about venue or anything, which goes back to the lectures, by the way, that I was mentioning earlier when I was asking you about that, Shawn, is that, the
load in and load out is pretty good, isn't it, Phil?
It is. The problem is the traffic's terrible in the morning. The line at Starbucks is ridiculous. And I had an accident going to work a couple weeks. I had an accident. I stubbed my toe in the hallway. But I managed to get through it.
A traffic accident.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Scott. I interrupted your question. What was your question?
Oh, no. I was just, about with lectures that the clubs have to pay for lodging and they have to, pay for the venue for the whatever that the lecture is going to be. But now they don't have that. They don't have to pay for that. So they're saving some money. I mean, they still have money that's in their treasury. So I would think that they could pay for lecturers, maybe not the full price. But I think that exactly what you were saying, Peter, and showing that video a while ago where the guy is doing the ninja rings close up. The beauty of a lecture and the beauty, Phil, of a show is you are as close as we are right now. Every seat in the house is a front row seat. You see it right here, and as opposed to being, craning around to listen to what did he say or see something, in a lecture that you really get to see that. And a lot of times the lectures will have 2 or 3 different camera angles. So they get to see all that then too.
Right.
But show, you get to see that too.
My quote is the best seats in your house.
There you go. I love that.
And Peter,
I was going to say one more thing, and I do kids shows, and what's great about doing kids shows on Zoom? You don't have to listen to them. They mute them all. Oh, I know how you did it. I saw that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's so great.
Well, Peter, what I was going to say was the ninja rings. It's like I never even thought of it that way, but that's, I guess, the one positive takeaway from all of this is you can watch some of that stuff like right there. And I never thought about that. I mean, even in the close-up room at the castle, when you see Shoot do the ninja rings, okay, yes, it's impressive, but have the rings right there, boom. I mean, that's incredible. Yeah,
unbelievable. It's unbelievable that way. And there's also, you have the advantage of there's a slight because the shutter speed on the cameras is not,
Right.
you know, at full film value. So then now what you're dealing with is you actually have a little bit of an advantage.
A little bit of advantage, yeah.
Exactly. So you actually have this, you know, this whole thing is an opportunity, you know.
Yeah.
And I showed this little flash of Nathan Comarch. I posted a link up to something that he was doing online, and there are many other people that are doing some really great stuff that are using, you know. So you're in the situation where you've got, you know, a frame that's here, right? So that frame, you know, anything that's outside of that frame. Basically, it's like camera stuff, you know. It's camera.
Yeah, it's all force,
you know,
all force perspective. Yeah.
You know, so you can create all sorts of stuff. So, for example, you know, if I'm showing you this, right? If I show you this, you know, body snatchers, right? You know, it's actually a little case, you know, for my cards.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. So,
yeah.
You know,
well,
and you talk about. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go, Peter. Go.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and you were talking about lectures. There are 2 lectures that I just attended that I would recommend, and one is Cosmo. Cosmo does a great lecture for clubs and stuff, and part of what he's doing is promoting his real magic. And then Adrian LaCroix, also from South America, Argentina, does a fabulous thing, and he does some absolutely incredible stuff for Zoom that you just go.
Yeah.
At any card at any number or whatever that he does then as well. Yeah.
There's so much more that happens.
I can throw out something.
The virtual triumph that's there. I mean, it's just incredible. I recommend both of those really highly.
Well, can I throw out a comment? Adrian's going to be on my show, a week from Saturday, the 22nd. He's going to be on my show.
Great.
Who's going to be on your show?
Adrian LaCroix. Adrian LaCroix.
He's fabulous. You will have such a great time with him.
By the way,
just amazing.
You know, one thing, you know, granted, we get tired of sometimes doing the same tricks over and over again. And, you know, I put it aside. I bring something else out. That's great. And doing this full time, you know, you have to be working. You can't say, you know, I need a break, but you got to keep working. So, but the great thing about this whole pandemic thing, these Zoom shows, is it's given me an opportunity to be creative, to come up with new approaches. I have one routine I do that I can't do on Zoom really, but I had to come up with a creative way to do it on Zoom. So it kind of puts new life into the old tricks that you're doing. And it keeps you creative, and some of the music doesn't work, so I have to find a different track that plays better on Zoom. So it's, you know what, and it's just breathed new life into the act. So
right. And to touch on I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead, interrupt me.
Okay.
No practice.
Jump all
no,
over.
I was to touch on what Peter was saying as far as like you got basically now this is a virtual proscenium march, right? And on stage, stuff is happening in the wings that people don't see. Well, okay, here's the same thing. It's the same thing that's happening here. And in that show that I was talking about earlier, the corporate thing I was doing, the tech thing, not to give away how this trick works to the non-magicians watching, but there was a card index involved in this particular show that I was doing. And you know, the card index was like, it was like right here, you know, and I was just boom, 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 and it all worked. It's you know, you don't have to hide some of the stuff that you.
No, there are so many things you can do in a 2-dimension.
Yeah.
I mean, like dropping something out of frame, you know, that you have in your hand and just going down, and there it goes, you know. And I think Rick Dennis-Halley had mentioned that then as well. But you're right, there are things you could take advantage of. I don't know how many of you attended the mini convention that Vanishing Ink had a few months back. I remember Danny Garcia had taught something, and he had David Blaine in there too. And it was something exactly, Peter, like what you had, where you're showing something, it looks like it's right here, but really it was further back, you know, in his case. And so when it went out of sight, but it looked like it was actually a picture of, like, let's say my bookcase over there, you know. So he had photographed that and then made, you know, put that in here. So it was like right here, but it, you know, he could actually, anyhow, you get the idea. There are different things you can do within a 2-dimensional plane that you cannot do in real life, but can do miracles, it seems like. And still be entertaining, because the bottom line, as we all know, would be how that you put your personality in that, why they're booking each of us to come and do that
Right.
show, you know.
That's right.
But I was going to get back over then, Phil, to something earlier that, like with what Shawn was saying, is how that you normally would start to get in, like with birthday parties and everything else. I mean, I've got friends here in Houston who have started doing things for free and then realize, okay, I can do that. And then they start charging, and then they charge a little bit more. And then going back, Shawn, what you were saying as far as corporate events, that you can charge almost your full rate, you know, for a corporate event, because you're still entertaining them and you're still providing them the same thing that you would have had you traveled there and done all this other thing, because it's the preparation that is going to be for that unique customized event, you know.
Right. It might be a little less because there isn't travel and hotel involved, you know,
Yeah.
accommodations involved, but not much. I mean, you're pretty much still charging for, you know, for the work you're offering them.
Yeah.
And so, and that could be a selling point too. It's like, okay, well, it's less because I'm not being put up in a hotel and you're not paying for the airfare. So here you go. That's
now,
a selling
Phil,
And you
point.
can and you can work in Paris and
right.
Geneva and
Yeah.
LA and Detroit,
Yes.
all in the same day.
Right.
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 Yeah.
that's a beauty thing.
right.
Exactly. I was going to say, Phil, whenever that you got going, then also with the paid shows you're doing, you
Yeah.
have been bringing in different people each week, and so you're kind of like the host of the show, or how exactly is your show work?
Yeah, my format's a little different. I'm not just a host, but I'm going to perform. So I'm going to open, I'm going to close. And so I have 2 performers on the show, which is great because it takes some of the pressure off of me having to come up with new material every week. So I call it home edition shows. I may have gotten that from Jimmy Fallon. I think his show was called At Home or something.
At home,
But,
yeah, that was a great.
So it
Yeah.
took my stage shows, Magic and Comedy Nights, and the At Home edition now, and I have 2 performers, sometimes 1, but I have someone does 15 minutes and the next person does 30 minutes, and then I always close with either multiplying bottles or the dancing handkerchiefs. So you know what? And I speak from the heart. I welcome people. I'm so glad that they tune in every week, and it's a blast. We had Larry Haas on, Adam Shire was on, David Copperfield was in the house. Thanks to Jeff McBride for inviting him, and so it's
I think it's pretty cool. You know, the thing is, I think it's important for us to recognize that we're going to be here for a while. Early on, everybody thought, okay, we're going to be finding a vaccine for this, and we're going to get back to normal pretty quickly, and we're just optimistic. We're just generally optimistic people. And also, we're gig performers in which that we're looking to try to continue to make your income. And then finding before long, it's really not going to happen immediately. And so maybe I better do something. And I think that it's still not too late. And the sooner that you realize we're in here for the long run, this is going to be a marathon, not a sprint, that it's going to be another 6 to 12 months exactly where we are right now. And the sooner that you kind of realize, okay, you look at your expenses, you look at your income and figure, okay, what am I going to do? The sooner you're going to have to start doing exactly what you guys are all saying then right now. I'm going to have to start figuring this out. How am I going to be starting to pay my mortgage, you know?
I just talked to a magician, really good magician the other day, and he said, you know what? This is going to go on for a while, so I need to start pivoting. And so there's a great opportunity to jump in, and it's not too late. And so I don't know where I'm going with this, but you know what? You have to embrace
We'll give you a second to catch up with yourself.
It must be the lag in the internet.
So you have to embrace it, and you say, you know what, this is the way it is. And again, it adds a lot of creativity and makes you think about how you can present your map. Hey, I had worked harder. I'm not kidding. I had worked harder doing these Zoom shows than I've done regular shows. I mean,
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
And it's a ton of work between getting the events up. Oh, it's amazing. Between the Eventbrite and the Facebook and the online advertising and the Zoom links.
Full-time job.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's a lot of work.
I think I could liken it to, say, to like trade shows. I love doing trade shows because I always found them mentally challenging. What kind of effects can I put into to my show to attract to stop traffic, basically, without making it seem too tricky or magic-y. You know, I want to talk about the product and what can I do that will sell the company, not sell me, but use magic to stop them. It's a completely different thing. You know, people are not there to see magic. They're there to do business. What can I do? And so it's a challenge to try to think about that. And so that I love doing that. And so this is exactly the same kind of a thing, which you're having to do this, though, not just, in other words, if I've got a trade, well, I don't have any trade shows coming up, but when you do that, you anticipate that you've got maybe 6 months to work on that. Here, you've got just a few days before you get to the next one, because you, Phil, have just had a show on Friday or Saturday, and you got another one next Friday or Saturday, and you got to come up with something else. Because as you said, a lot of the people who are watching are buying the tickets over and over because that's your audience, you know?
Well, you know, it's interesting because I pretty much do this. I mix up things, but I pretty much do the same tricks every week. I bring a few things in and out. I know how to have an opener, closer, and a middler, and I can, you know,
Fill in between
certain tricks in and out. And but I get new eyeballs every week, so I have to do my 5-card opener because they haven't seen it.
Right.
So and
those who have want to see it again because it's good.
Yeah, and they love me. They said, Phil, don't worry about it. We love you. And so they come back every week. I've already sold, I don't know, 5 tickets for the 22nd.
Now, I know we were talking offline before about how that we have lost a lot of shows and everything canceled respectively. But Shawn, you had a very interesting experience, I think, as far as like a cruise ship goes. Tell me a little bit about what happened with you.
Yeah. Well, that happened. Okay. All right.
If you don't mind bringing this up.
No, I don't know. I don't mind bringing it up. It's kind of an involved story, but I'll run through it as fast as I can. I was scheduled to work 2 different cruise lines. One was Princess, one was Viking. And as we all know, Princess started to have the issues. You know, Princess is in the news, and the virus, the sicknesses were coming up on Princess. And so pretty quickly, Princess put into effect that anybody joining a Princess ship, whether it be crew member, guest entertainer, they could not, as of the moment that they were stating it, they could not join the ship if they had been on any other cruise ship within 14 days. This was before March 13th happened and everything came crashing down. So they had already put that in place. They said, no one will be allowed on our ships if they've been on another cruise ship within 14 days. Okay, well, looking at my schedule, I was getting off a Viking ship and I was joining a Princess ship within 5 days.
Okay.
So my agent contacted me and said, Princess Cruises is canceling your contract. I went, okay, I kind of expected that. But the Viking one was before. So the Viking one was still happening. Okay. So I went into the Viking one knowing that I would not have a Princess cruise after that, right? So the plan was for me to fly out of LAX on a red eye into Philadelphia and then catch a connecting flight from Philadelphia to St. Martin, the island. And I was then going to be in a hotel one night and join the ship the next day when it came into port in St. Martin. That was the plan. So I drive to LAX and I'm there. I've checked in, my bag is checked, it's going to St. Martin, everything's cool. And I'm standing at the gate for my red eye, which is supposed to take off, I think, 11:15 in the evening. And it was about now 10:40. And the announcement had been made that they're starting to line up. We're going to be lining up quickly, for the next 10 minutes to get onto the ship or go onto the plane. Okay, so I get a text message from a friend, and it's a screen grab of the announcement that the chairman of Viking made 2 hours previously that he was canceling all cruises as of the moment these words spilled out of his mouth. So I immediately Googled it and saw that it was 2 hours previous. And he said, yes, as of March 12th, we are canceling all cruises. Well, I was in the airport on March 11th. Wow. I was supposed to step on the ship on March 13th, right? So I quickly go, okay, so I call my agent. It goes straight to voicemail, which I figured it would because it was late at night. I call the 24-hour number I have for each cruise ship that I'm joining, and I call them. They pick it up. It's the travel department of Viking. And I explain everything. I tell them my name. I tell them the ship I'm supposed to be joining. And I tell them the news story that happened. And I said, what am I supposed to do? Because I'm about ready to get on a plane. And I can hear her tapping on her keyboard. And she goes, we have no record of this.
Wow.
And I went, well, wait a minute. It was the chairman of the board that just said 2 hours ago that he's canceling everything. Well, she says, whenever that happens, any hotels or flights connected to that particular cruise we'll get an email to cancel it. We've gotten no email. And I went, okay, I guess I'm flying to St. Martin to be canceled, but I don't know what else to do. So I quickly shoot off an email to the travel department of my agency, which was in London. They were not up yet, but I sent it to London, and I just thought, here, I'm just going to give this to you, and maybe you can help me out. And I told her, I said, I've gotten word that this cruise has been canceled, but Viking knows nothing about it right now. So I'm going to get on the ship, or I'm going to get on the plane, and you let me know. I mean, I have a connecting flight in Philadelphia. If you get this email, I'll check my email when I get to Philadelphia. Well, right as I'm getting on the plane, and I'm about ready to switch it over to airplane mode, I get an email from the travel department. And she says, are you on the plane? I said, yes. She goes, well, let me check this out. I just now woke up to this email. I will let you know what I find out. Please check your email when you get to Philadelphia. So I fly 5 hours to Philadelphia.
Oh, man.
And I land in Philadelphia. And I check, as soon as we land, I bring up my phone, and there's an email that says, in capital letters in the subject line, do not continue to St. Martin. The cruise has been canceled. So I email her back. And in the text of the message, she says, we are working on a return flight for you to LAX. So I reply to her and say, okay, thank you, but hold off the flight. Let me try and intercept my bag, which is going to St. Martin.
Gosh.
Once I get that, then I will let you know, and then maybe we can arrange a flight.
About that. That would be a
yeah.
Wow.
So it took about, from the moment I landed to the moment I got my bag, which I did get my bag successfully, an hour and a half, but it was a chore. And have any of you guys been to the Philadelphia airport?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I don't recommend it if you haven't, because it's not the best airport. But I had to go through security twice just to find my bag. So there you go. Anyway, got it. Bag came out, and then I emailed my agency, and they said, okay. And they got me on a flight at 10:40 in the morning Philadelphia time. And then I just got back on a plane and flew back home. So I basically flew to Philadelphia for a cup of coffee and flew home. And the coffee was lousy, so it wasn't even worth the trip.
Then you came home and had a stiff scotch, right?
But you got air miles.
And a cigar.
And I got air miles and a cigar, exactly.
You know, it's just amazing the stories you have from traveling on cruise ships. I mean, I remember flying once through Mexico City, and because of the delay that was in there, we were flying from there to some, I don't know, Acapulco or someplace in Mexico. And because of the delay, I landed and I drove like a bat out of hell to get to the port, to the harbor. Yeah, and I get there and I see that I am facing the very last tender. The last tender is when they've gathered up everything from all of the umbrellas and all of the water and everything that's on there. And I end up getting onto this tender and getting up there, and they're literally lifting the tender on wires, on these things, bringing it up, and they unload my bags through the railing onto the ship. I mean, it's just like unbelievable. Yeah, no, I mean, the worst drama is worrying about missing the ship. Dana Daniels missed the ship in Jamaica.
Oh man.
Because
this was the Magic Cruise way back when. And Scott, if you ever talk to Dana, because he'll tell you the story. But he and I think his girlfriend at the time were off, and they were exploring, and their watches were off. They were on the wrong time zone, and they came back to the port to see the ship sailing away. They didn't have their passports. The bird was on the ship.
Yeah.
I mean, they had
the bird
no
made
way
it,
to
and
get
Dana didn't.
Exactly.
Wow.
So the bird did
That's
all
fantastic.
by himself.
The bird got paid, but Dana didn't.
Yeah, Luigi got paid.
Luigi got paid.
Luigi. Exactly.
You know,
Luigi
Nick
had
Lewin had just
connections.
posted something here, by the way, too, and he said, I had a ship screw up once, but that was before COVID. So,
Oh yeah. You think?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was going to ask you then also, Peter, that you had something you were going to talk about ships, about cruises, I think, then too, aren't you?
Oh yeah, sure. Here's a little something for us on cruises here too. All right. So here, this is the Rotterdam, which was one of the first ships that I ever worked in. It was like 1979. I was working colleges and universities, and I was working at the Magic Townhouse in New York City. And some agents came to see because at the Townhouse it was close up. It wasn't even staged. They came to see the show, and they said, "Yeah, we really liked the show. We think you'd work really nicely on this." And I said, "On what?" And they said, "Well, we'd like to book you on the world cruise of the Rotterdam." And I went, "You just saw close up. What are you talking about on this?" They said, "No, you do colleges." I said, "Yeah." They said, "Okay, all right. Well, we'll do this." So I mean, it ended up working out beautifully, and it was the start of my cruising career in 1979, and this was me.
Who the heck
in
is that?
Havana.
Oh, look at that.
Look at all that hair.
In Havana.
What is that on your head?
Oh, I remember that. So we're in Havana. This is the only time that the ships have ever stopped in Havana that I'm aware of, and for some strange reason they let it in. There was a time we actually delayed departure because one of the musicians went out to the Copacabana to take pictures, which was now a military base. And so his taking pictures caused him to get arrested. And they had to get him out of lockdown in order for us to sail away again. So here we are. And here's this photographer in the middle of Havana. And I'm standing on this, in the big plaza in the middle of Havana, Cuba, and listening to, the way we were. And here's this music playing on these loudspeakers and this thing talking about the way things used to be in Havana. It was just an incredible experience. But cruising takes you every place. This is in China that happened in there, and this is just one of those amazing things, that comes in that cruising really does take you to these amazing places.
What year would that have been when you were in Cuba, by the way, when you said they first stopped there?
Cuba was 1980.
80, sorry. Okay.
Yep. And this was this was China in 1980 also. I actually made it there before Mark Wilson. I had known I was going to China, and in the situation I'd written to Mark Wilson. I said, "I'm going to China. If there's anything you can do to help me meet some magicians in China, that'd be great." They said, "No." I went, "Oh, okay, all right." So I flew into Hong Kong, and then I went to China, and I met the acrobatic troupe, and I had a translator, and we were talking about stuff, and the magicians that was in the acrobatic troupe, and they were doing great stuff. They were doing things that go bump in the night. They were doing aerial fishing with the production of this huge carp. I mean, literally, like 3-4 feet long, from an audience member's coat in the middle of the audience. It was just amazing. And I went backstage afterwards, and the translator was there, and we were talking, and I asked about this, and we were talking about the stuff. I said, "Well, what was it like, working through, the under Mao Zedong, where?" He said, "Well, it was very difficult. We had to, it was considered elitist when we were doing shows, and the people didn't know how it worked. So we were told that we had to explain how all the magic worked." I said, "That must have been awful."
Explain to the audience how it works?
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly. He said, "Yeah, that was really terrible, except that we lied. We never told them how it really worked." and then we got down to doing magic for each other, and I brought over some stuff to give to them, and he turned to to the translator and he said, okay, you have to go away now because you can't listen to the stuff that we're about to talk about. And at that point on, we didn't need any translators or anything that goes on further than that, you know.
Wow. And Scott, I didn't get the memo beforehand that PowerPoint was a requirement. Peter's putting us all to shame here.
Oh, wait. Here, you want this? Here you
There's
go.
more?
Here you go. Here's Monday Night Magic.
Oh. You're saving that. You're saving that for what? 2 years from now. No. Peter works for Ecamm. He works for Ecamm.
So what is
He's
Michael
got stock in Ecamm.
What are all the guys doing then right now? And Todd Robbins and Jamie and Swiss and everybody. What your buddies doing?
All right. So this is the interesting thing about it. You know, Monday Night Magic started in 1997. And
get the slideshow, Scott.
Exactly. So, you know, this was our basic group. This was
that's
Todd
a great
Robbins
shot.
and,
I love that.
Isn't that great? And that's me
Yeah.
and Frank Brentz and Michael Chow and Jamie Swiss. You know, our
Todd
extended
Robbins,
family included. That was Frank. You know, who's no longer with us. But
He was a great
Good guy. Frank was a great guy.
He was one of the most wonderful people that I've ever met. He was kind and he was patient and he was an amazingly skilled performer. I mean, he went to Vegas and went to see Lance's show, and Lance stopped the show and introduced Frank as one of his teachers, one of his mentors. It was just this touching
I saw
moment
videos of his show that was when he was a young man, and he still did the same show. They showed him side by side about how the timing, he knew that just to the second, what to do with the ducks and everything that he did. It was amazing.
The ducks and the doves and the split fans and the work was incredible. You know, he worked at the Crazy Horse. He worked in Paris. I mean, he worked all the cruises. I never really got to know Frank because I followed him on Holland America cruises, and I would follow him on a cruise, and they would tell me this wonderful performance that had just happened with Frank up there on this. And it was such a treat eventually to meet him afterwards and to be able to work with him on the Monday Night Magic. We had an extended family that included a whole bunch of people, Prakash and Aussie, you know, and Matt Holtzclaw and Stuart Palm, who's now in Hong Kong, and we wish him well in Hong Kong at this point. This is just great. Aussie performing for us at Monday Night Magic. There's Rocco, who's for us at Monday Night Magic. Exactly. You know, this is Alan, Alan, who won the Gold Cups doing this beautiful Sands of the Desert that happened in there. Throdini. You know, he and I don't. Throdini. It's just the great Throdini.
Now it looks like that was also at your old place where you used to have the original place.
Exactly. So it wasn't the very first one. So this wasn't the Fantastics.
Fantastics. That's what I was thinking. That's not there.
Yeah, no, that's not there because it's a real stage that happens actually there. You can see in the banner that's there. You have our buddy Todd, who is just amazing. Todd is just a highlight and a gem in our world these days. You know. Jamie has performed, and he's now out in San Diego. It's out there and around and been writing beautiful, beautiful work. And we had people that show up like this is Jeff Latta, who's performing for us there. And that's Simon Lovell in the back there talking to Michael Chow. I'm kind of tucked in the picture there. We would get together after the shows and go out to restaurants and just hang out and talk for hours and jam. It was just, it's just been an amazing run of all the stuff that's happened in there, I'll get into this later on. This is a whole different level.
Oh yeah, at your table. They get together afterwards. Wonderful. Go out, have a bite to eat, and
absolutely.
Simon friended me when I worked there. Simon just got my ear, and we spoke forever, and we met at the restaurant afterwards, and he was wonderful.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that Phil has come and worked for us at Monday Night Magic as well, and has experienced the joy that is Monday Night Magic, the insanity and the joy that is Monday Night Magic.
Yeah.
Well, I did too. I don't know if you remember. You were there, Peter, or not, but that was back. I did that back when they were in the Fantastics. So I've got one of the jackets also. It's got my name on it and everything.
Oh, that's wonderful. You're one of the few people that do actually have that wonderful jacket. It's great.
I did the close-up actually for Monday Night Magic during the
so this is a Monday Night Magic get-together.
A reunion.
Yeah, I guess it is. I guess it is.
Yeah.
No, but I have a great Todd Robbins story, real fast. I was working the parlor at the Castle, and I was doing the early shows. Todd was doing the late shows. It was the first time that Todd and I had actually gotten to know one another. And this was years ago. And I finished my set, right, in my 3 shows, and I went into the parlor to watch his show. And unbelievable. I mean, it was him eating the light bulb and the whole bit and the sword swallowing. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. And so that entire week I was going to people that were coming, that were on my guest list, to go, yeah, my show. You've got to go see Todd Robbins' show because this is fantastic. You've got to watch him. Please make sure you get in his line. Okay, so I went and saw it, I don't know, 4 times that week at least.
Wow.
And I'm sitting at the main bar at some point in that week. Todd comes down, he's finished his last show, we're chatting, and he's about ready to leave. And a woman comes over to him. He's got his little case in his hand, right? And a woman comes over to Todd, and I watched this all play out. She comes to Todd, and she goes, okay, I saw your show. It was really great. She says, but those were fake light bulbs, right? and Todd goes, what part of my show did you not understand? I told you in the show that it was a real light bulb. She goes, it couldn't have been a real light bulb. It was a fake light bulb. And he grabs her hand and he goes, follow me. And he's walking through the main area of the Magic Castle to find a bulb to unscrew and eat.
Oh no.
Well, he couldn't find the proper bulbs because I would love to say that he found one, unscrewed it, and bit into it, but instead they're all the little flame-like bulbs and stuff. So he goes, okay, these aren't the right bulbs. So he opens up his case, and he has her look into his case, and of course in his case are the single light bulbs in those corrugated cardboard sleeves, right? And he goes, pick one of these out. So she picks one out, and I'm watching this all go down in the main area, like the main bar area. And she picks it out, and he goes, okay, look at it. It's not sugar glass, right? It's real glass. And she's tapping it and the whole thing. And she says, yeah, this is a real light bulb. And he goes, okay. And he takes her arm and goes, and he bites into it. And she screams to the point where everybody in the Irma room, in the stairs, in the main area, they're all looking at her, and he's chomping on this light bulb. And she just lost it. And he goes, okay, now do you believe me? She goes, yes, I believe you.
Great.
There's
the highlight. This is the highlight.
There's an additional story along these same lines.
Well, but then he swallowed. He looks at me. He goes, "Have a good night, Shawn." And he walks away.
So he's in the middle of his show at the parlor, and there's a guy who's drinking a martini.
Okay,
Scott.
The guy here. Could that have been me?
Drinking a martini out of a martini glass in the second row, and Todd sees this guy turn to his girlfriend and go, yeah, it's all fake. Those aren't real light bulbs. And Todd walks up to him. Takes the drink out of his hand, bites into the glass, and chews it up and swallows it. And
I love that.
Broken glass back to him.
Oh my God.
Todd is a legend.
Wow. No, Todd is so great. I love Todd.
Wow.
That is awesome. Wow.
Yeah, people will be telling stories about Todd years after he's gone.
Wow.
So what is he doing right now? He had done that television show for a while that was Spooky Things or something. So what's he up to now?
Exactly. Yeah, so he's doing a bunch of stuff. He's doing a vlog. He's doing a video blog. I think every couple of days it's happening up there. He's working on other projects. I don't know specifically. We at Monday Night Magic are working on getting an online presence to have shows that are both current in the sense that they are going to be talking with the performers that have worked for us at Monday Night Magic, showing clips from them that are at Monday Night Magic, and then discussing some things. And if they have some magic to do live on the show, they will do that also. But we're really trying to just keep the brand alive. And so that's scheduled to begin in a couple of weeks.
Great. Now, see, that's great. That is, see, there's an opportunity that you never would have thought of before. And that's wonderful to see something like that. So
and that, you know, Phil, you're right. It could be something that would lead after this is all over, whenever that's going to be, to continue, so people could do that and watch it virtually later.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really good idea and a real good question on this. It's like, is this the sort of thing that, and there are ways to do this. There are a number of companies that are talking about handling both the bookings and sort of the online presence. Do we want to eventually do a mixture, especially if we're social distancing and we're limited in terms of the number of people that come into a show? Do we want to think about doing a combination of live and streamed show? So, you know, and is it something that you would make available for people for, let's say, a week following? So even if you can't be at the show on that night, you would have a week to go and view it online before it disappeared forever. So ephemeral, but with a certain amount of sort of echo.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Very good.
You know, Peter, I did your Phoenix on my show a few weeks ago, and this is a great analogy, if that's the right word, for this whole thing we're going through right now. The Phoenix is a perfect piece to showcase right now.
For those who are not familiar with the Phoenix, can you elaborate what the effect is?
You want it, Peter? Go ahead.
I would just say it's a burn and restored napkin.
It is. I learned it as a kid. I remember seeing it in a magic book, but Peter made it as he does with everything. He made a theatrical masterpiece.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Everything he does is a masterpiece. You know,
and it always gets a WTF comment when I do it.
Peter is an artist.
That's great. Thanks.
I think I think Peter is an artist. Everything that you do, each piece, there is so much emotion and so much theater that is in each piece that you do that is a standalone kind of a thing. And so the overall experience is like breathtaking, you know. And I'm, even if you weren't here, I'd say this behind your back. I just think it's amazing.
And when you did it at the SAM on that Friday, the SAM lecture, I love the way that you made it work for the screen. So that's what inspired me to, hey, that's right. And again, see, that's what I'm talking about, how you can find new ways to bring or put new life into old routines. So
you know, so Phil, it's one of the things that you and I have talked about at one point was we talked about Gypsy Balloon. And it was one of the sort of the revelations that happened to me in the midst of all of this stuff is that, you know, I've always done Gypsy thread, you know, where you've got the thread and you break it apart and it becomes Heartstrings is a piece that I do. And Phil had been fascinated with Gypsy Balloon as a piece that he thought would work well in this show. And he and I kicked around ideas and presentations, and he had a really lovely idea for how to approach it. And I talked about it in the lecture, the SAM lecture. And, you know, sometimes when you are working on something, it sort of bubbles in the back of your brain until you sort of pops out. And I realized that for me, the Gypsy Balloon is not about the string, it's about the height of the balloon, you know? And so, you know, so for me, as you break off the piece on the thread, the balloon gets lower and lower and lower. And that was, for me, the image of the spirits, the feeling that we have about our lives, the sort of the enthusiasm we have about living, until we get to this point where it's just like barely above, you know, ground level. It's about to go underground, you know, and I realized that that's really what it was about. So that this idea that you can take an image or a visual like that and make it into something. So now the restoration of the string is not about the restoration of the string, but it's restoring the balloon back to its height, you know?
Yeah.
So that to me is where you can find sort of the metaphors that speak to us, that work.
That's
for
a
us.
great metaphor. That's a great metaphor. And so it's a great trick. That's Tony Clark, right? It's Tony Clark's trick.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tony doesn't live far from me. We have lunch occasionally, and he's a great mind, great creative guy, and it's just phenomenal.
I love the thread that he's found, the string that he's found. It's really lovely. It breaks nicely, and it's the right size.
Yeah, that's
the
the thread I've been using now, because you've been talking about Aunt Lydia's thread, but every time you practice that, when you're practicing it a few times, you end up kind of So I use that.
No,
but by the way, when you came out with your gypsy thread, that's what inspired me to write my routine. And I worked with Doug Bennett. Doug Bennett is a wonderful script writer. And he's written me, I must have 8 scripts, 8 gypsy thread scripts for different events and different venues. And so your gypsy thread was the inspiration for where I took mine. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that's
great.
Something I've used for a closer for a while then also, what I try to do is to bring in my life, you know, that I've been doing a lot of magic, and then at the end I really bring it all together by telling them about my life, you know, and personal things of what's happened in my life as far as my children or when I was a child, and then going to school and meeting my wife, and then getting married and having children, and then having grandchildren, my wife passing, and different kinds of things that have happened in my life that give the emotional context that people can understand me. So that's the last thing that I do. So afterwards they can come to me and they feel like that I'm a real person, you know. So.
It's amazing how people respond to that kind of personalization, you know, because in the end they will respond both to the magic, because we need to have the demonstration of the skill, the fact that we are weaving these fantastical images for people, but eventually they respond to you as a person, as a performer. And I think that's wonderful. You know, it moves me even hearing to think about you doing that.
I told Michael Finney this, but I saw him at the comedy club down here, which is where you were at, Peter. You performed for me at Rooster Feathers. And I saw his stand-up act, and after about 20 minutes, he then talked about himself. And it was a wonderful moment for me, because I got to know him as a person, and that always stayed with me. And these little moments always stay with me. And it was really touching how he shared himself with the audience. So you got to know him, and you talk about these personal stories. It's great because you're human. We get to know you as a person, and we go away thinking, I really like this guy.
Right.
And
as a performer, I think that's important as a performer, to allow your audience to kind of, you know, welcome them into a certain part of your life. I mean, you've got your boundaries, but but I've done the same thing. It's like with the Superman thing that I do at the end. My finish that's my love of comic books coming in there, and I do a version of the hug kill routine, which I don't know if that's going to even be able to be done anymore. But at the time, you know, I for the longest time I had been wanting to, oddly enough, write a piece about my divorce, and I didn't know how to make it funny and how to make it, you know, and not to poke fun at her, but just to make it the incident funny in general. And the hug kill routine was perfect for that. And so I wrote a script about me and the divorce and that whole thing, and the whole hug kill finish worked out. And I've always tried to work in parts of my personal life into the comedy magic show that I'm doing, you know? And I think that's important. I think it's important because it does connect with the audience.
You do need to humanize. That really breaks the fourth wall completely.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Right. And even though people might think that you're just making it up, no, I've had people afterwards come to me after the show saying,
okay, was this true? Well, yeah, it was true, you know, and I'm doing a magic routine around that. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to start to wrap us up, but I was going to ask Peter, did you have any more slides you want to show us? Those were really interesting.
Yeah, come on, come on, continue to shame us all, Peter.
No, I'll let's see if I can. I can show you one thing. Let's see if I can do this.
Now, if there's a slide of me, Phil, and Scott, I'm going to be impressed.
I don't get to tell my story, Scott. I don't get to tell my horror story.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, Phil. Go ahead.
Your horror story?
Yeah.
While Peter's getting ready.
No, I think I'm done. I think I'm done.
I sent you two pictures today, Scott. So I had the thrill of performing back by
the straight jacket. I'm sorry, I don't have those on my screen.
I performed back by a 60-piece orchestra about 3 or 4 years ago at a park in Los Altos here. 1,000 people in the audience, and I concluded with the show with the straight jacket. And the idea was, I said to the audience, I'm going to now conclude my show with a straight jacket. I didn't say those words. And the conductor said, well, no, Phil, we're going to finish with our rendition of Night on Bald Mountain. I said, no, I'm going to do a straight jacket. He said, well, Phil, why don't we both do it, and we'll see who finishes first. So that was the reason for the straight jacket. So, you know, you rehearse this, you never know what's going to happen. So I'm about to finish the straight jacket. I'm about to get out of it. I undid this strap. I go to pull the jacket up. We'll have to show the picture later. And the shirt is untucked like this one, and the shirt comes with the jacket up in the air. I don't know that because I can't see anything. So the jacket won't come off, and I'm hearing the music. Okay, a few more bars. It's about to end. Oh my God, what am I going to do? And wait, did I unstrap the top strap or not? And it just would not come over the neck. I couldn't figure out what's going on. And all of a sudden I realized, oh, they're holding the note. They're holding that last note. The band, and somehow I realized it was the shirt, so the jacket came off. You got to send them the picture. My shirt is upside down, up in the air over my head. And and the jacket's on the floor, and I'm like, what is this? Oh, it's my shirt. And the audience thought it was part of the act. And it was so embarrassing. But I don't remember what I said, but you know, you just be in the moment, you say something as if that's part of the act, but it was, I don't know if that'll ever happen again, but that was a moment that, I don't know how it happened.
Can I share something real fast along those lines? Real fast, Scott, real fast.
Yeah.
So I was in Mexico, Peter. I was in Mexico.
Before we
Mexico, I know where you're going on this.
Hold on. Just before you do that, I want to share my screen. I want to show this picture over here, just real quickly.
Oh, do you have it? Do you have it? Oh, great.
Yeah. So that was the picture over there, Shawn.
Oh, perfect.
I'm sorry, with Phil, with you.
On the floor.
That's great.
That was the one beforehand.
Yeah, that's the one beforehand.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, you were trying to get that shirt off. But you can see the orchestra back there behind you.
And it wouldn't come off because
that's great.
The collar, the top button is buttoned, so. And I have no idea at this moment, I have no idea what they're seeing until I saw this picture.
Okay. Back over then to you. Sorry, Shawn.
Real fast. So along those same lines, I'm in Mexico. I'm doing the Superman finish, and it's all timed. You know, the tie has to come off at a certain time. The shirts, the pants, the whole thing has to come off at a certain time for me to reveal the Superman outfit. Okay. Well, I have forgotten to unbutton the sleeves. Right. So the whole shirt comes off, but they're stuck on the sleeves. Right. So now I'm behind my music. So in the past when that has happened, and it's only been one sleeve normally, but this time it was both. I pulled and it would pop the sleeve. It would pop the button, and it would sometimes the button would come off and I replaced the button, but it would pop and I'd be able to get it off and still kind of catch up to my music. This time I take it off and I'm yanking, and I'm thinking, okay, I gotta pop the buttons. So I yank and I turn and Superman's there. Okay, when I go back, the show's done, I go back to my shirt. I had pulled off both cuffs of my shirt. So the shirt had torn right here, and the cuffs were gone. The shirt was useless, but I had ripped the cuffs off my shirt.
That is pretty crazy.
How are you going to top this one next time, Scott?
I don't know. I tell you, I think I need to have you guys back on again whenever the week actually won't be the 13th.
Yes.
We won't have the problems we did trying to get this thing going. But you guys have just been great. Thank you so much for your participation. Thanks for being part of this. This has been just wonderful.
Thank you for inviting us.
Next time I'm going to have a bottle of Crown Royal.
It's been great. A couple of things, by the way, that of course that I'm the host of the Magic Word podcast, and that this week on the Magic Word podcast that we do happen to have a great episode that is about a book. It's about an author, or it's by an author, John Ivan Palmer, about his father, Jack Pyle. And it is called Master of Deception. It's available. Actually, it was released on the 11th of August, so it's a new book. So if you're looking for a summer read, that's something to, I guess, be a fall read almost, a quarantine read is the way to look at it. And next week we're going to be talking about something. I'll give you a preview then. Right now, we're going to be talking about demystifying how to win FISM. There is a lot of interesting questions that people have asked me about. Well, what is it that is in FISM? What as far as the contests? How do you enter, and what are they looking for, and what are the judges looking for? So I've talked with the judges, and I've got some good advice. I've talked with Noel Britton, talked with Vinny Grasso.
Oh, great.
And also with Boris Wild, who is the chief judge. And so we got some things coming up next week then as well on that. A couple other things just real quickly that I wanted to mention, by the way, that my buddy Jonathan Levitt's got something that is really interesting, and that is that for iOS, this is coming up for the Android soon, as far as The Stranger. If you guys don't have The Stranger, it's a really great app.
A great trick.
Jonathan's
a friend, and he's a great trick. It's a great trick.
Don't you agree? I get nothing out of this.
Absolutely a great trick. Yeah.
He's a good guy and a great trick, and I think The Stranger is wonderful. And the app is now free for anyone who gets it, with a 7-day trial that unlocks all the Revelation modules: playing card, book test, number, custom, wiki test, cubesmith, NFC. Then after 7 days, the trial must stop. But if they purchase something, then they continue, and they get to try it for free for 7 days then right now. So anyhow, that's just something that Jonathan Levitt had just sent me, and it's a great guy, and it's a great app. And if you haven't got The Stranger, I just think that's really a pretty cool.
I highly recommend it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. Something pretty cool. And I thank you guys very much for, again, being on over here. A lot of stuff.
Thanks for having us, Scott.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate that, Shawn McMaster. Thank you, Phil Ackerley. Good luck with your shows that are coming up then also, my good friends. And Peter, be sure to tell Michael and Todd and Jamie and all the other guys that I missed them. It's been great. You guys have been wonderful. Thanks again. So for the Magic Word podcast and the Magic and Martinis virtual happy hour this Thursday, we're going to be saying good night. And thanks again. Scotty out.
Good night.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Scott, thanks. This is great. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Oh, splash. I want to do this again.
That was fun. There were more things I think we could have certainly talked about.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I was walking, it was 4th of July, one of those years, and I show up to that particular resort, and that resort was a grab bag. You never knew where you were going to perform. And Sheets had told me that he had done this at one point in time. I've never seen a photo, and this is fantastic. But I showed up. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I showed up. I had done, this was my 3rd time at the resort during this current run. And I had been in 2 different locations each time. And this happened to be the 4th of July or 5th of July, around that time. And I show up, and I saw a band on that stage. A band on that stage, maybe a little bit longer, but it was a band, and they're playing. And I get there, and the entertainment director of that resort comes up to me, and he goes, "Okay, Shawn, he goes, we have the band out here on the stage. And I looked at him and I cut him off and I went, and there's no way I can do my show there.
Exactly.
And you see this face, you see his face just go, ugh. And he goes, yeah, I kind of figured that. I said, you've seen my show. You know what? I have volunteers that come up on stage. There's no way you're gonna bring volunteers in a little boat that you push over to the stage to get them up there. So I ended up doing it on the cement. It was not the best thing, but I was on the cement, and then the crowd was like that way. But at least I was not in the middle of a pool. But that's amazing.
And you can't really see it looking at this, but he's doing linking rings. Standing on this table.
Is that what it is?
In the middle of the pool.
Oh
yeah,
my God, that's great.
So how does he get out to that little platform? I don't understand.
They push him in a little boat.
No idea.
He gets in a boat at the edge of the pool, and they push him out to the stage.
Oh,
and that's what they were thinking I could do every time I asked for a volunteer. No, that's not going to happen.
I thought Bob Sheets was Jesus.
Yeah,
well,
pretty much is.
In some
to get a volunteer on
is.
stage, they would have to put them in a boat and push them over to your stage and get them up on stage. That is the craziest thing ever.
No, that's what they want. That's what they were willing to do, and I went, no, that's not going to happen. We need to do this on land.
Wow.
Boy, that's talk about COVID now.
Peter, can you send that photo to me? Email it to me.
You're happy to.
I would love to have that. So if you could send that to me, that would be great.
Hey, listen, we've got a little mutual chat up there on Facebook with Messenger. Just put your email in there.
Oh, good.
Okay, I will. I'll do that.
Then I will not mistype it.
By the way, Peter, I told you I'll be the first one to buy your book because I am eagerly.
Oh, yeah.
You're probably struggling to get it written, I'm assuming, but I hope you're working on it.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention that as far as what you're thinking, Phil, you're going to announce for tomorrow. Darn it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, what can I say? Well, Peter, your response was like, yeah, like it doesn't sound very enthusiastic. So,
well, what can I tell you? It's both exciting and frustrating at the same time.
Yeah, I guess so. You know what? I would never have written this book unless I was kind of forced to write it. They contacted me in October and say, hey, we're looking for an author. Send us, let's do a conference call. And I first thought it was some scam.
You're the guy. They contacted me also. And
are you serious?
I'm absolutely serious.
That? You know what? I've been waiting for somebody to say that they contacted me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I thought I was the guy. I thought I was like the only guy. It's like, okay, we like your website and like what you are doing. And so we're going to have you to write this. And so I put together like about a dozen things and I was working on this. And by the time I sent it to them, they said, oh, we've already got somebody. And I said, I thought I was the one you were working with.
You're joking.
No, I'm not joking at all. I mean, I actually put something together and I sent it to them and they said, yeah, too late. I was like, okay, well, I thought I was within the timeline. They said, well, someone got to us faster.
Oh, I don't know.
Congratulations.
Wow.
You're the guy.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations.
Actually, I didn't respond for the first week. I forgot about the email.
I thought it was also a scam to begin with whenever I first got it. And I kept, I started writing the guy back and he was serious. And it's like,
You're sure it's the same guy? Sure it's the same guy?
What's his name?
I don't know. You tell me.
I have to look at my email. It's been like, it was last spring sometime.
Well, actually, it was in October. They
was it?
October.
Oh, man, time flies.
October.
Okay, so what day is today? Isn't like this day May the 30th or something?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, today's May the 97th, I think.
Could be. Yeah, so they contacted me in October, and we had an interview, and they said send us a sample. And it's funny, we're going on a vacation. And they said, can you have the sample by Monday? And I'm like, I'm going out of town. And it was a Friday. So I'm doing my shows on the weekend. I'm thinking, you know what? I know exactly what I'm going to send them. So I sat down, I wrote it, I rewrote it, I stuck it on my desktop. I go to Monterey thinking that I can then take it off my desktop and send it to them. But it didn't go up to the cloud. So I actually sent them an old revision, which was okay. I thought, well, probably never hear from 4 days later, I get this email. Oh, what if they said, we want you to be the author? What a wonderful thrill.
That is
Great. It's great.
that I was expecting.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm gold, so I have no idea if you're teasing or not.
No, I'm absolutely not teasing. I mean, I can send the letter to you. I've got the email somewhere in there, but no,
Right.
I'm absolutely serious as a doornail.
All right.
No, Phil, that's great. And you're announcing it tomorrow, right?
I'm going to announce it tomorrow. I actually videotaped me opening the box up yesterday. So I'm going to.
That's great.
Yeah. So
I'm so happy for you. Really,
Thank you.
I'm glad that it's you, not me.
Yeah, in the back of my mind, I'm hoping that, you don't hear the critics saying, why'd you do that one? Why'd you do this one? So.
That's why I'm glad it's you, not me.
But I do a lot of I've been doing workshops and classes for years, since 28 years. So a lot of the stuff is stuff I've been teaching anyway. So, and I'm real excited. The 3-card Monty, the giveaway at the trade shows.
Yep.
I came up with this idea. It's called I Heart You. So basically, the 3 cards are MOM, and it spells mom, and you set them down on the table, and it says I heart you, and then mom turns over the middle card, and there can be a message. Happy birthday,
nice.
Mom.
Cool.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's great.
Cool.
That one took a lot of that took a lot of illustration.
They may not care. I mean,
Yeah.
at a certain point, if they say, hey, if we're not in business anymore and we haven't assigned the rights to anybody else or sold the rights to anybody else.
That's true.
It's one of the things that happened for me with Theatrical Close-Up when I made the agreement with Mike Caveney to publish it originally. The deal was that if he hadn't done anything with it for 10 years, the rights reverted to me. So.
Well, thank you very much, guys. That's great advice.
Congratulations,
never know
Phil.
what's gonna
That's
happen.
great.
That is great.
Yeah,
Really great. Hey, Scott, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for having us on. This was
Absolutely.
a great
I would
evening.
love to do it again. It was so fun.
Is Fred King there, by the way, Shawn?
No, he's not. And he said to say hi to you.
Oh, Fred.
No, he's working. He's basically retired, but he's working still with the company that he retired from. And he texted me today and said he's probably not going to be able to be here because he's fallen behind on his projects, so he's not there. But he said, tell Scott I said hi.
Okay.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I totally forgot.
By the way, how do you know him, Scott? How do you know Fred King?
Oh, well, Fred's like you. He's one of the friends of the Magic Word. He's a financial supporter.
Gotcha.
And also,
I'm not a big financial supporter, by the way. Maybe I'll have to up my amount. But it's
anyone who's given me even $1 bill is a financial supporter.
That's wonderful.
So I'm thankful for. I don't care if it's a cup of coffee a month. If it's like if you can do that, that'd be great. I've got 6,000 subscribers, and I've only had 150 people who have ever given even $1. So I'm thankful for anybody who has ever given anything because. It's kind of like NPR or PBS. It's hard to try to get people to give anything. So when people do that, I appreciate it. It doesn't matter because I know that every dollar counts, and because I have to pay for, all this stuff to produce whatever I do. So a little bit of time, that everything helps. And so, so Fred. In fact, here's a funny story about Fred and I that we were coming back from Magic Live. We were at the airport, and as we were leaving, we went in. We both like scotch, and so we were having a glass of scotch, and we kept talking. And as we left, it's like, okay, well, hey, we looked at our clock, our watch. It's like, hey, it's time to go. We got to catch our flight. And we both left, and all of a sudden, the waitress comes out and says, "Who's going to pay for this?" It's like, oh my gosh. We were, enjoying our conversation so much we didn't even think about it. It's like it's like we were just having a conversation.
You both were skipping out on the check.
Yeah, we're not skipping out on the check. Sorry, we just thought we were at each other's home or something. Just enjoying a great conversation, and it's like, oh, sorry.
No, he's been a friend for a number of years. He lives like 10 minutes away from me. He and his wife. And he was thinking he might be here, but then it fell apart. So
so tell him hello because he approached me at Magic Live. He's a good friend with my high school friend Mike May.
Wow.
Oh yes. He mentioned Mike May. In fact, he told
me to tell Scott that he's Mike May's friend in case Scott didn't remember.
Oh, you know Mike May, Scott?
No, I don't know Mike May.
Okay.
Okay,
Mike and I
well,
went to high
then
school
maybe
together.
maybe it was Phil that he told me to tell
It must
was
have been
Mike
Phil.
May's friend.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, okay.
Wow. Yeah. So Mike approached me in Magic Live and said, "Hey, we know somebody." So it's not on Facebook.
Well, listen, I'm going to let you guys go.
Oh, you're gonna
Okay.
go? Okay.
It
Thanks,
actually been a
guys.
short night. It's been a fun night. It's been
Thank
a
you,
great
guys.
time. Thank you. So thank you. I appreciate
Thank
this
you.
so much. You guys have been great.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys. See you later.
You bet.
Thanks.
Good night.
Thanks, Scott.
Good night
I'll
now.
pay extra next time.